Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming today. So this is, in case you're not sure where you are and you just landed here by serendipity, this is Radical Embodiment for Healers, also known as How to Relieve Pain. I have to read it because it's such a long thing. How to Move with Ease, How to Train for Longevity, and How to Work with Your Quantum Tissue, which will give your soul the freedom that it needs to breathe and move and expand. So I want to start today with this really nice exercise called the Om Hum. So what this humming sound does for us all is that it nourishes the endothelial cells that are lining our heart, our blood vessels, our lymph channels, and humming into your sinuses. You know, we have this beautiful flower of sinuses with these petals that go up here and here and here and here. And then there's all sorts of other spaces in the cranium where you can begin to vibrate sound. You can do it back here at the at the juncture of where your skull, your cranium meets your cervical spine. And then the cervical spine itself, you know, that it's ripe with possibilities for opening up a sense of volume and using it as a resonant chamber, the whole throat, really. And since we are one continuous thing, that sensation can be felt all the way through the body, all the way down to the toes. So you all know the Om from a yoga class, how you traditionally start with 3 Oms. And that's always an awkward moment because I think everybody is trying to like be on pitch or something. And if the teacher's off, it's cringeworthy. Well, this is not about how you sound. It's about how you feel inside. So you want to feel as you begin to do the O part of the Om, that you just feel that O sound inside you, although you are making a sound. And then you want to not spend a lot of time exhaling with an open mouth. So you finish up the O pretty quickly because you want to leave enough breath for the the yummy. So that is where you begin to vibrate that up into your sinuses and all through your body. You can, you know, done right, you feel it even wiggling your tailbone a little bit. So it's very delicious. I'm going to guide you through it. And the way that I will do it is I will start off with a couple words, and then I'll do 3 to 5 Oms, and you just chime in after the first one if you want. And you do 3 to 5 with me, or you stop before if it doesn't feel good. Nobody's forcing you into a space that is, you know, jangling for your nervous system. So let's sit up straight. Put our feet in contact with the floor, the surface of the floor. And just let yourself come into your body. Just start to do a little pratyahara, withdrawing the senses in just the teeniest bit. So that you really get a sense of your volume, you sitting here, you're present, you're in your body, you've arrived. And I want you to take just a little notice of how the shifts in this posture and awareness feel. Does it make your body feel different than it was a second or 2 ago? Just want to start noticing these phase changes. Here I go.
Just beginning now to notice, what are you feeling? How's your body feel? Has it changed? Without getting all heady and comparison-y, you just want to begin to sit in open attention. Really lapping up the yumminess of how your body feels. It's feeling good. Taking in the pleasure. So that's it. So when you're ready, slowly bring yourselves back and we'll get started today. Started talking today. Since we have already started, right? So if you don't know me, I'm Elizabeth Andes Bell, and this class is for you if you think of yourself as a healer in any way, shape, or form. Because healers, I'm not talking about just professional healers. I think healers are made. I think they're chosen. I think the path chooses you. No matter how much you kick and scream, it chooses you in one way or another. So that means I serve healers, I serve movers, yoga teachers, artists, creative types who really have a passion to bring some kind of healing into the world. But like all of us, stuff happens along the way, and we can find ourselves struggling with pain, physical pain, emotional pain, trauma. And we want to live really vitally for a long time as we get older. And we have a lot to share still. So we don't want this other stuff to stop us in any way, to drain our energy. So that means also I work with women who are just, like not all the way down the road of like, oh, my body's a mess or I'm a mess, but I want to stay healthy. I want to train for longevity. I want to train for this thing called anti-fragility, which is beyond resilience. Okay, so resilience, this is from Nassim Taleb's book, Anti-Fragility. Resilience, if you're going along in a system and there's some kind of crash, resilience is when you get over the crash and you get back to where you were in the system again. But pretty soon, if there's problems in the system, it's going to crash again, right? And so in a way, resilience, while we love resilience and it's good and we want to be resilient, we also want to understand that we want to innovate, create, grow, and evolve, because the circumstances are always changing. So, I really think that if you feel like you're called to do this big work, whatever it is in some way,
Anti-fragility is really the thing to have, because when you are anti-fragile, you don't climb back to the same system. You actually get more creative, more innovative, you grow, and that actually makes you better to handle the next thing. So you don't crash when the next thing happens. And in a way, it's like we alchemize the chaos for our benefit. So people like who self-identify in this way are often are dealing with anxiety. They're often highly intuitive, very empathic, and often we are woven, our bodies are hypermobile. So we love to stretch, you know, we can put our leg behind our head, or we could at one point, you know, a lot of us are drawn to yoga for that reason. And there's a really interesting thing that happens when you stretch and as a hypermobile person. And that is that you have to kind of go to the end range of your stretch in order to feel anything, because you don't have as much nerve fibers through you as the really tight person does. So you are always pushing it to end range to get that feel good feeling that we get from a stretch. But what we now know is that that's the worst thing that we can do for ourselves, because, oh, there go all my papers. So when that happens, let me just pick these up. When that happens, our muscles turn off. Muscles don't want to go, oh, because they get out there to that end range and they kind of like get stuck there. A muscle wants to pulsate. An organism, a living organism, wants to oscillate. And what this means for us in terms of stretching is that instead of taking a stretch and holding a nice long stretch, we want to pulsate through it, right? So we're going to work with that today. We want to be able to not go to the end range, because that actually takes us beyond our structural integrity, which is a lot of why we get injured, or why our yoga practice ends up injuring us so many years later. And there's a lot of this old thinking that is actually contributing to our the lack of our physical well-being. Joint problems. I can't tell you how many people I used to take yoga class with who have had hip replacements, or how many dancers have had hip replacements. I mean, you know, if you need a hip replacement, you get one, because it saves your life, right? But maybe we don't have to get there. Maybe we can, some of you can intervene before you're headed down that road. And the good news is hip replacements are wonderful for giving you your life back. So you can also be very robust afterwards. So I'm just saying all this because I want you to know that you don't have to keep struggling with pain issues or mobility issues. And that's really what's different about me and the work that I do, because I work with your fascia, but I work with it in the fullest sense. So I don't work with it just in the sense of physical exercise, but I do that. I move the body. But I work with the whole spectrum of fascia. So think of fascia, you know, it's the thing that holds us. It's the thing that weaves us at every scale of our being. But there's this wonderful embryologist, Jaap van der Wal, who talks about embryogenesis in the most poetic way. And he actually says, your fascia is your soul. This is your longing. This is your soul body that wants to express itself and create itself and keep emerging. And this fascia holds all information. It is the great Akashic record in the physical realm. And it's always receiving new information. So it's kind of, you know, endless. And it's always adapting as well. which is really great news because now we're learning how we can co-create with our fascia, participate in changing it and building our well-being, building our stability, healing ourselves. Your fascia is your quantum body. That's, if you could call it your soul body, you could call it your quantum body. It's like a fractal treasure box. And so you think of it, it's holding your personal information, your ancestral information, your familial, your cultural, your interspecies, your primordial, your cosmic information. I mean, it is just full, it's endless, right? This is why it's quantum, because time and space exist in a way that we don't usually know it in this frame. So if you're into quantum, maybe you know about David Bohm's implicate and explicate order. So basically, this is about how matter and consciousness enfold. So they go into every subatomic particle, every cell, every body, right? But they're also enfolding, unfolding, they're opening out, they're blossoming. And there is this there is not a real underlying dynamic order to the unfolding of things. There is a sacred geometric template. Now there's all sorts of other noise and interference too, but nothing takes that template and wipes it away. It's always there. So it's this giant cosmic vessel that holds everything. So what I find amazing about our fascia is because we're geniuses at adaptation, but also geniuses at innovation and creation, we're taking all this noise, all these forces, all this chaos, all this unpredictable stuff that's happening in our lives and in the world today, and we're adapting and we're adjusting. And there's this noise, and a lot of times that's old habits, old beliefs, old ways of doing things. It even happens in your brain. They have seen that if you do something the same way for generations and generations, because that's just the way that it's done. Well, that is up to a point an evolutionary advantage. It allows life to be easier. This is when we plant the fields. This is when we harvest the grain. We're learning how to work with cycles. But sometimes what happens is those cycles change and we have to adjust. And when we're working in that level of habit, the adjustment gets harder. We get stuck, right? So now we want to be able to recognize that our adaptation could be a blessing and it could be a curse. How do we take it from one to the other? So what I want you to know is that once you start to go into your fascia body, new things open up for you, like new opportunities. Oh, maybe I can do this differently. Oh, space is opening up for me. I don't feel so pressured anymore. Time is opening up for me. I have greater understanding. I have a greater ability to flow. And when you're bringing your consciousness, so you're enfolding and unfolding your self, your material self, with your consciousness, you grow. And you begin to realize that we can inform our forming. And so that's the play that we do in this fascial work. So one of the ways that we start with this is that we need to get to know who we are inside us and outside us, and where that space on the inside gets lost as we begin to move outside and vice versa. And so as we start to get to know our inner selves, we're developing this very key skill called interoception, the ability to sense inside yourself. Now, it used to be interoception was, oh, I know when I have to poop. Oh, I know when I'm hungry. But it's so much more than your visceral awareness, because, as I said, it's a fractal treasure box in here. So there's no end to where you can go. But there is a nice place to start. And that is what we call first order sensation. First order sensation is what you're feeling before you think about it and attach a story to it. So it might be that if I was describing first order sensation, and maybe when you did the Om hums, you felt streaming, floating, expansive, lighter, ease, maybe joy, maybe heat, maybe pain in my neck, who knows? But those are first order sensations. And that's the sort of thing you want to key into. So what I want to do now is take us down to the floor to do what I call a baseline. Lots of people, like my teacher, Emily Conrad, did a baseline. And it was just basically lie down and take a baseline. Let me move this up a little bit more so you can see. Okay, so I want to show you some other possibilities with baseline. So you see I have this rolled up blanket. I actually have 2 yoga blankets I've rolled up on the floor. Now you don't need this. I like it because of the feedback, but you can lie down on the floor. If you have a roller, you can lie down on the roller. You can lie down on your bed, or if you don't want to lie down, you can even do this sitting in a chair. You're going to come down and lie on your back with your knees bent. And I want you to scoot your feet out a little bit so your knees are not right in front of your hips. And if your low back is pressing into the floor, and you can take your hands to your low back, you just want to be able to slide your hands under, which will bring your pelvis into the slightest, most neutral pelvic tilt. So you're not tucking your pelvis, nor are you tilting your pelvis, but you're just letting it rest in a nice neutral position. And then your hands are on the floor, palms up or palms down, whatever's comfortable for you. And just give yourself a moment here to arrive. Just really coming home into your body. And beginning to notice, without changing anything, what the contact is that you're making with whatever surface you're lying on. So first I'm noticing that my feet at the ball of the foot, at the big and little toe, at the inner heel corner and outer heel corner, I'm noticing those 4 corners of the feet making contact. And I'm noticing my 10 toes making contact. And I'm noticing that there's more weight on the inside of my left foot and the outside of my right foot. So that makes my knees feel like they want to tilt to the right a little bit. So that's just part of my lower body baseline information. And now I'm going to bring my awareness up into my pelvis. And I'm noticing, there's one side that has a little more weight on it than another. And now I want you to notice if you have more weight toward your tailbone or more weight toward the low back. Just noticing. And moving up to the rib cage. So does one side feel more weighted than the other? Do you feel that your ribs are arching up toward the ceiling in kind of, a more hyperextended arch or not. And then you want to notice your shoulder blades, again, more weight on one side than another. Your arms. And finally, you come up to the cranium and you notice the right side of the head and the left side of the head. And so this is really giving us a sense of our spin, how we arrive in this place of already being spun, and how that might change for us. And now I want you to let your eyes slowly close if that feels right to you, and go inside deeper. And notice your breath. Now I just want you to begin to plug in the four corners of your feet so that they're all evenly weighted. And placing one hand on the belly and one hand on the sternum, right up by under the collarbones. You're going to take a nice deep breath in. And as you inhale, you're going to breathe into your hands, but you're also going to breathe your back into the floor or the rolled up blankets. So it's really an expansion in the front and the back body that we want to begin to encourage. So we just very gently want to start inviting this 360 breath in. And then take your hands to the side of your ribs. And as you inhale and exhale here, can you feel that the ribs expand out on the in-breath and gently float in on the in-breath? So there's a pulsation happening here. And then slide one hand down to your pelvic floor and take the other hand up to just above the collarbones. And if you are reaching the soft tissue just above the collarbones to the sides of your throat, you might be able to feel the top of your lungs. And you're going to inhale into the pelvic floor and the tops of the lungs. So now we're filling up the vertical axis of the body. So we did sagittal, front, back, horizontal, side to side, and now vertical. And then relax your arms and let yourself expand into this natural 360 breath. And then I want you to very slowly keep those feet plugged in to the four corners, like roots going down into the earth. And let your pelvis begin to rock in a gentle figure 8 motion side to side. We'll take a couple of Om hums here. Just let the torso respond and the head respond. The weight is gently shifting in a little figure 8 motion on the feet. Enjoy this for another breath. Let yourself soften and deepen into the experience. And then slowly let everything come down to quiet, settling. And you drift into what we call open attention. And you just begin to notice things. Here now I'm feeling at first order sensation. Just open that window and let yourself take that all in. The whole world of what you're feeling, what your body is feeling. This whole awakening of sensation that is moving through your body into the space around you. You might notice things like streaming, slow, smooth, gentle, rhythmic movement, kind of like with a mind of its own happening. You might notice pulsation moving from your core out to your fingertips. Can you feel the pulsation of your heart in your fingertips? You might notice just this gentle oscillation. Like when the sunlight hits the lake or the sea and just ripples. So this is what I mean by a baseline. What I mean by a baseline is being able to know where you come in, what your normal holding patterns are, what your cellular tone is, what's that underlying texture that I walk around with all the time. And then you want to be able to know that you have this amazing fascial body that can shapeshift into developing another kind of baseline that is more coherent. And this is a really important skill that we teach. You can do it anywhere. I hope that was a good experience for you. It was for me. So here we are. Let's come back. You know, with all the, just give another moment before I start to talk. So, with everything that's going on in the world today, I think that our nervous systems are really, really challenged. And I want you to know that if you feel this and you feel like it's your struggle alone, it's not. I think we are all sharing it. You're not alone. And I also feel like, going back to that anti-fragility thing, this is really the greatest evolutionary challenge of my life. I think we're at a big moment here. Becoming fluent in our biomorphic intelligence, in our higher inner guidance system, where you tap into this thing that feels like there's a gentle river that is flowing inside you. It heals our separation because we all can feel it. And it restores our connection to each other and this sense of interbeing with all of creation. So we begin to feel like there's a bigger story that's going on here, that has always been going on and will always be going on. And I'm a part of that. And I think this is coming online for us. It's an evolutionary capacity that is emerging in us. And it's challenging, you know, as all change and growth is challenging. And, you know, it's not lost on me that we're having this conversation just at the time of the Leo full moon in Aquarius. It's exact now. And, the Leo full moon is all about the personality, the me self, in terms of how my ego identifies me. And, but it's in Aquarius, which is all about the we space, our interbeing, our interconnection, our deep resonance with all of creation. And so at the full moon, there's a lot of stuff that rises up for us to look at and be released. And so I just posit that for you as a way that you might be playing with this question of what is it that brings you here today? I'm sure on a personal level, you're here for a reason. I don't think you're just interested in evolution, although maybe you are, and that's great. But let's talk about the struggle part too, because this is an important part of the picture. And pain. The way that pain has left its mark on our bodies. And as I said, it's emotional pain, it's physical pain. There's a pain of just also, what does it mean to age? What does it mean to be a woman who is aging in today's world? Or what kind of impact does my age have on that connection to that inner flowing river inside of me? And is there a way that I can start swimming again? So pain can leave us feeling really weak when we've been struggling with it and doubting our capacity to handle life. And we don't live with as much ease and joy as we used to when we're in pain, right? Our bodies adapt, we limp. Sometimes we forget we're limping and we keep limping after we no longer need to limp. And everything, it just feels like this extra weight that you carry around. And it gets harder to be there in fullness that you may want to be. There's this loss of the intimate relationship that we have with our own bodies too. Because when you hurt, you pull away. And it's harder than to feel all of our feelings, the good ones, the pleasure. It's harder to find our way back to ourselves, right? That's a lot of loss. And I think it's really important we just sit with that for a second. I mean, there's been a lot of loss that I think we've all gone through in the past year. Whether it's emotional pain that we're feeling around it or physical. And so maybe that's what brought us all together today during this full moon. I just want to honor that if that's true. I want to make space for that to be here. I want to make space for us to be able to be with grief for that. And honor and thank it. Thank all this experience that we've had. And I want us to be able to know that that's the process to starting to let nature breathe life back in again. And I think it's really important to do this at a cellular level because this is where new creation emerges. And we have to find a safe way in to do it. Right? Without mental bypassing, without spiritual bypassing, we have to get in the body and feel the pleasure. The pleasure coexisting with the pain. Your vital energy is not gone. It's just the blocking, not feel that diminishes. Your living neurofascial core. This is an idea that I want to introduce to you as this moving river inside of us. We also can call it your mesokinetic core, meaning your mesoderm, you know, that middle layer when you were forming in your mama's belly. Ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. This is where all of our stem cells live, and all of our fascia comes from there. And kinetic, so that's a meso. Kinetic is what? It's moving. When I talk about motility, I see that living mesokinetic, neurofascial living river alive in me. I go right there. You can too. So you can do it when we know more. We have a right understanding about who we really are. And who we really are is really connected to how we're made, by the way. And it's really key in helping us develop the resources to restore and regenerate ourselves. And we know how to do this for ourselves. I mean, it might take some training, it might take some mentoring and all of that, but it wouldn't happen if it wasn't already in you. So here's what I'm going to cover with you today. We're going to talk a little bit more about awakening latent capacities in your fascia, like bounce and volume, and how we remodel the fascia. And we're going to talk about the 3 streams of somatic trust and why you need them to really emerge free of your old programming. We're going to talk about 6 things we do inside my one-on-one emergence program that balances and heals your energy body and opens your perspective so that you can move with stability and fluidity and have big breakthroughs about things. And we're going to create together, we're going to do a little 10-minute wake-up routine. I'm going to show you kind of the stuff I do in the morning to prepare to move through the day and hydrate my fascia. And it's just a little bit of play. But before we get there, what I want to do, because let me tell you something, we're going to identify the patterns that you have, and we're going to give you resources to begin to shift those patterns around. But what you really need in order to make this change really happen for you is you have to have a new story. If you have this old story about getting old and falling apart and not feeling capable and all of that, we want to know that's a part of this old story that we don't have to inherit. We don't have to take that on anymore. There's too much to share. There's too much vitality here. So I want to share with you this new vision of who we really are and where I think we're heading. So we're going to go to the first slide. Now, let me know if when that's visible, Bruce. Okay. So there's this great book coming out that you can pre-order on Amazon. I think it comes out in the spring. And it's called Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, The Astonishing New Science of the Senses. I am not I'm not affiliated with her in any way, but I love this quote. We can hear amplitudes smaller than an atom, smell 1 trillion scents, have a set of taste buds that can discern molecules of fresh water and can feel, through the sense of touch, the difference of one single molecule. So this is a vision of who we are, not just of our potential, but who we are when we can unfold our consciousness with this enfolding potential of ourselves. Because this is where evolution is taking us. Now, we may not see it in our lifetimes, but we can participate in it. And I want to just tell you that over the last 7 years, I personally have unwound loads of trauma in my tissues. I've anchored my feeling awareness into my body as a flow state in my living core. And I've opened my perceptions and shifted my relationship with time and space and gravity. And, you know, I'm not even going to try to explain that part of it. But I've been in nature, and I have rewilded my sacred connection with nature. And I've explored new ways that I can move in contact so that I'm feeling my inner self as I'm reaching through space, and I'm knowing where I might lose this as I move out into relationship. And I'm talking about not just a relationship, I'm talking about my auric kinesphere, because as I begin to move out, I hit different levels of my field. So I'm hitting different chakras as well. And then I can begin also to include relationship. So it's my inner feeling, working with my sense of who I am in my auric kinesphere, in my space, working with my sense of we, who you and I are in those important dyadic relationships that we have in life. And then it's the us space as well. Who am I in my tribe, in my family, in my profession, in the world? So, you know, all of this is about this embodied dialogue that we have. And what I want to share is that you can do this too. So before I talk about this great vision that we're building, a little bit more just about who I am for those of you who don't know who I am, and welcome for the people who've been here before and for those of you who are here for the first time. So for those of you who don't know me, you might wonder, well, how did she go to the mountains for 7 years and do all this stuff? Well, to be honest, I'm a healer, and I'm a somatic artist and a movement researcher, and I've been one for over 40 years. And I've been teaching this stuff for a long, long time. It all began back in the 80s in a loft in Soho, where I was working with this amazing mentor and a group of artists. And it was this hive of creativity and spirituality. And we were working with space as dynamic flow, as mutable, space enlarging, expanding, space moving in, space being alive. And we were doing open-eyed meditation, and you'd sit and you'd look in someone's eyes and you could read their souls. You could see their faces change. You could see time shifting and moving. We were studying Western and Eastern esoterica, and we were learning how to move energy through our bodies. After that, I went to the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. I became a healer. There was this great opportunity to bring our work into the school. So I created the creative arts department, and with my husband, Bruce, and we were teaching this, having big ceremonies, doing the creative arts projects. We did all those skills. So you Brennan folks, cellular awareness, that was the freshman skill. We did skills for each class. Riding the wave is the sophomore skill. Opening sacred space was the junior skill. Multidimensional core contact was the senior skill. These things just kind of came through and they were also coming through from this original work, that creative work that we've been doing back in the early days of our downtown experience. So life moved on, and Bruce and I started We owned fitness centers, we owned yoga centers in Manhattan for many years. We taught there. So I've been in the fitness and yoga industry for a long time, as well as having a healing practice and an energy healing and a yoga therapy practice for many years. And then along the ways, I was trained in developmental and depth psychology. I'm a continuum teacher. I've had the great good fortune to study with a lot of wonderful somatic and Pilates and yoga teachers through my life. So I did have a little bit of a head start, right? But getting back to fascia, it doesn't matter because of all this work that I've done, I'm here to make it easier and faster for you. And in order for that to happen, I think we do need to have this new vision of fascia. I think that knowing a little bit about how it holds us and shapes us and creates our perceptions of things, it's important to know this stuff about really what is the potential of this amazing, crazy fascial body that we have. So the next slide is a picture of, on the left, you see a mannequin, one of those really standard artists, biomechanical mannequins. And then on the right side, you see the fibroblast cell of a mouse embryo. So the more we can shift our understanding from the left side to the right side, the more we can expand our understanding of just who we are and what we're really capable of, so that we can really participate and co-create this next chapter for ourselves. A fibroblast, for those of you who don't know, is a fascia cell. So this is a fascia cell, just like the ones that you have. And nature has a very good plan for all organic life, for all living organisms to thrive together. And the secret in how our fascia helps us to adapt to change in life and remain whole and connected we've really only been able to get a glimpse of understanding for this in the last 15 or 20 years or so. So this is a vision of a new human being. This is your quantum anatomy. You're really a shapeshifter. And when your body's fascia is healthy, it's a superconductor. And it makes you able to respond to changing conditions lightning fast. So those fibroblasts have little things on them called lumens, which bring in light. Right? And that is your living liquid crystal that makes up your living liquid crystalline matrix, the web of your whole fascial body. And guess what? It's neither liquid nor solid nor gas. It's the fourth state of matter. So it can shapeshift from being a fluid to being more like a gel. When it's a fluid, it sends information in a nanosecond through your whole being. And it also brings in nutrients and transports waste out. So there is inherent in this the flow of pulsation, movement. Now, the gel part of you is what supports you. So it gives you some ballast if you fall down. It's on the bottoms of your feet and the soles of your palms. There's a little bit of different kind of fascia that is there because there's different kinds of fascia existing in gel and solid states throughout the body. It not only phase changes, but it also exists in multiple different ways. So the gel part can also divide parts that you want to keep divided, like your intestines from the rest of the contents of your abdominal cavity. But also, like nature, getting back to nature, we're exposed to quantum forces. And these quantum forces, they're linear. They're templatal. But life responds to it by spiraling, by being in the round, because nature, and we are nature, so it's us too that I'm speaking about, we are nonlinear, complex, unstable systems. And we want instability to the extent that we always want to be able to adapt to changing conditions. And like nature, we have one goal, and that is, as soon as we adapt, get back to that homeostatic balance again, restore that. So what feels sometimes like chaos to us, like, oh my God, I'm losing my inner gyroscope, my inner ability to find that deep sense of coherence with my own self. What seems like chaos on the outside to us is really just flux. And we can start to find that inner gyroscope in ourselves so that we can flow with that and feel stable and not feel fragmented or disoriented. But all of us can show up. So let's look at some of the ways nature translates these energetic forces that impact organic life on Earth and resolve them into harmony. So this is everywhere in nature, but it's also in us. And these are beautiful examples of how nature takes these forces of energy and spins them with this underlying dynamic form. Nature creates out of an implicate order this new explicate order of branching, of spiraling, of meandering, of streaming. It's really an exquisite thing, and we want to know that this is all mirrored in our bodies. It's how we resolve those forces too. And once we really start to get this, then we can allow our body's wisdom to guide us so that we can embody who we're being called to be. Now, one of the most natural ways that this happens in nature is through pandiculation. So this picture of the cat stretching, I think it's cute because I love cats. It looks like my cat, but it's the words are all wrong. So yes, it's correct. This is not stretching, it's pandiculating. But the places on the cat where it says stretch, say right in expand, think expand. And where it says contract, think condense. Because this is a pandiculation. So when you haven't been moving, when you've been sleeping, it's perfectly natural to get up and do what we call stretches. But a stretch, as I was saying before, is taking you beyond your structural integrity and your muscles are turning off. But in this case, your muscles are turning back on again because you're pandiculating. You're combining condensing in with expanding out, and it's happening simultaneously. There's an implicate order going in, and I'm finding all sorts of things that where I was tight, I might then begin to open, and something new then emerges out, and I begin expanding. And so this idea of pandiculation is pulsation. So let's get up and do that little bit of movement that I talked to you about how I start off my day. And if you don't want to get up and join, that's fine too, because you could probably just do it fine sitting down in your chair or on the floor or on your bed. And we want to start slow, and we want to know this is not a routine. I'm not going to give you a routine. We're going to play together. We're all going to get up and be a little bit playful and silly, and we're not going to know what we're going to do. And we're not going to worry about if I did it on the left side, do I have to do it on the right side? Do I have to do 8 and 8 and all that stuff? No, this is spontaneity. So let's take what I like to call a standing baseline. So I spread my toes wide and I find my feet on the floor. And then I begin to just let myself notice how I'm showing up here. Like, is the weight in the back of my heels? Is it in the front of balls of my feet? Do I feel like I'm tipping over? Does it feel like I'm got more weight through one leg than another? Does one side of me feel more present than the other? Just take a moment, it's real easy. Just notice how you're showing up, and then let's see what we can do to shift that a little bit. So, shifting the weight back and forth again on the feet, we want to begin to notice, what does it feel like when I go way back in the heels? Like what starts to tighten up? And then when I come to the front of the heels, what changes? And how about in the arches? And how about in the balls of my feet? I feel things start to tighten up when I go forward, and when I go to the toes, it really tightens up and I start to brace in the whole front body. So now that you've seen that for yourself, whoa, just go back and forth. Nice and easy. And find yourself resting now in the center part of the foot, around the front of the heel, the very back of the arch. And then just plant the 4 corners and spread the 10 toes and just begin to wiggle a little bit. Ooh. Just really like I'm a bowl full of jelly. And I can give myself a little bit of time to let that jelly start to wiggle a little bit more in the arms, a little bit more in the neck and shoulders and head. And now I'm starting to pay attention to my joints a little bit more. So I really want to get all those joints alive. So I got my fingers going. I got my wrists going. I'm making a fist. I'm turning in and reaching out, just like those branches. And I'm coming back in again. And I'm reaching out all the way. And now I'm going to flick my fingers open and send that energy out to those fingertips and bring it back in again. And send it out and bring it back in. And let myself begin to pandiculate a little bit in this upper body. And my feet, they're rooted. They're rooted down. And I'm making my weight press down into the floor. Now my body finds, I'm just following what the body wants to do here. My body is wanting to bend and rotate, and with my hands on my thighs, because I'm finding this really nice rotation happening in my pelvis. Ooh, and now I'm finding myself wanting to come back to center and roll all the way up to stand. Oh, take a moment and just shake a little bit more. But you don't have to follow me. You're playing. I want to reach my arms up. I want to reach my shoulders up. I want to reach my elbows up. I want to reach my wrists and my fingertips up, and I want to open out and fill up the space that's all around me, forward and back, and side to side, and down, and up, and shake it out a little bit. And now if you've got a desk or a table or a wall, that, or even the chair that you can lean against. I want you to come and place your hands on it. The countertop is great for this, but any height can work. And I want you to find the 4 corners of your palms and 10 fingers pressing down. Now, if you have a bar like I have, you can't do that, and that's okay. But I want you to know that the contact that you're making with the thumb and the pinky side of the hand is really important. And then just lengthen your body long away from that, from your hands, and find those 4 corners again and bend your knees and just let your tail be that cat and begin to sway it from side to side. And your hands, whether they're on that bar or on the table, are doing this gentle pushing and pulling. And you're swaying from side to side. And now I'm finding my body wants to go into like this scooping motion. So it's like my pelvis, I bend my knees and I scoop to the left, and I bend my knees and I scoop to the right. But I'm not making myself do anything. I'm following the impulse that wants to unfold within me. And now I'm doing this wave motion through my spine. We call this fascial dog. And you really want to get to know how juicy it is when you begin to round in and condense and roll up and expand, open that whole front body. So remember that breathing. When you inhale, let yourself breathe into the whole back, around your spine. Bend your knees and then press into the table and send your body forward and open up an arc of movement. And then slowly come back down and find a long spine again. And find your sternum. And imagine if my sternum got heavy. I'm going to reach out through my crown and reach out through my tail. And I'm going to let my sternum get heavy. Don't drop your head. Your knees can be soft. And now I'm going to make a figure 8 with my ribs. So my sternum is going to go down and around my right breast and up and around the back of my right side to the center and down the left breast and up and around and through the center. And I'm just starting to trace little figure 8 motions of my ribs in space, guided by these hands of mine, which are pushing and pulling. And you can do as many as you like. You can come back, you can go the other way. So up and over the left and down the right. Up and over the right, down and up and over the left and down. And you can just have fun and play with this, because I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here now, but I could go into each rib really nicely, but let's just let it be for a second and then walk in a little bit. And now what I want you to do is just, it's really important to get the feet alive. Every morning, I really want to get my feet going. That's my connection. So what I like to do is find those 4 corners, and I'm just going to now shift my weight a little bit from one foot to the other. And you can put your hands on the outside of your hips, and you can feel the top of your greater trochanter. And can you feel, now that you've hydrated your body, the femur moves into the side that you're moving toward, and the other one kind of moves away a little bit, and your feet are doing this little pronation, supination, right? So it's like your feet are a boat in the water, and you're able to easily shift from side to side, right? And then come back to the middle. There you go. And then but I want you to just take your hand all the way up behind your occipital bone, the back of your head, and lift it up just a little bit. Right? And can you feel a nice long length from the back of the head all the way down to the tailbone? Right? And then take your hand to your armpit and just give it a little rub. And invite that armpit to deepen and soften. And then very, very slowly, you're just going to begin to open the ribs on the side of the body. Now reach your elbow all the way up and keep going side and going side and going side and lean way out. So it's all the way down the leg and back to center. Ooh. And come back and feel that flow down the back body. And can you feel a flow up the front simultaneously? Now find the four corners of the foot and plug them in. And think, well, what about if I reach my crown to the ceiling, can I dome my foot up and release it down? The arch lifts and down. The arch lifts and down. You can take your arm down anytime. The arch lifts and down. Now, what about if the arch lifts and then the heel slides to the toes? And the arch lifts and the heel slides to the toes. And the arch lifts and the heel slides to the toes. Now you've inchworm your foot out. Look down at your feet. It should be a couple of inches in front of the other. Now, dome up and inchworm back. Dome up and inchworm back. Take your hand back up here. Dome up all the way to the crown and inchworm back. One more time. Dome up all the way to the crown and inchworm back. Now, reach that foot all the way out through the toes and bring it back in. Reach out, send energy out through those branching toes and bring it back in. Reach out through those branching toes and bring it back in and plug it in and stay. Now, spread your toes wide. Lift 5 toes. Press them down. Press the big toe down. Lift 4 toes. Spread them wide. Press them down. Lift the big toe. Keep the other 4 down. Press it down. Keep the 4 corners of the feet plugged in. Press the big toe down. Lift the 4 up. Don't pick up the baby toe side of the foot. Keep it plugged. Keep it plugged. Keep it plugged. Do you feel a release on that side of the body? Release it all the way down and rest. So let's try the other side. So I don't want to turn my back to you, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. So let's start here. And what I want you to do is, trying to remember what I did on the other side. Okay, so lift your arm all the way up. Find your 4 corners of your feet and plug them in. Take your hand to your armpit. Take a nice deep breath in. As you exhale, soften in your armpit. Widen your shoulder blade. So you might feel that shoulder blade is coming and wrapping around the side body, and you're opening up those ribs. And you take a nice deep breath in. And lift the occiput, root down through the 4 corners of the feet, and begin to breathe up under those ribs. So on this side, my shoulder is much tighter, right? So I'm breathing between my ribs and my shoulder blade. Oh, it's really nice to get hydration there and get those shoulder blades unglued from your ribs. And I'm starting to breathe into my side ribs, and I'm opening all that up. I'm opening and I'm letting the weight really release down this standing side of my body. It's my right side. But what I want you to know is that I'm not going to the outside of my right hip, or I'd fall over. I'd be on the outside of my right foot. So you want to find yourself bending over, but I want you to stay on the inside of your right foot so that you feel length up and down that whole body, and you're opening up all those ribs. And then you're going to take the leg out, and you're going to start to take your nice fascial expansion. So I want you to feel that while you're doing this, you don't just arrive at a place and hold it, but you pulse, you pulse, you pulse. You go slowly, not all the way, but as far as it feels like you can still swing back. You go out and you swing back. You go out and you swing back. But now if I wanted to really highlight here and I didn't feel like it was happening, I would do something like this. I would get into this, and then if I wasn't able to really get it from the side, maybe I need to turn 3/4 to the back and pulse and get it back. Pulse. Maybe I need to keep going around. So this idea of you always want to be curious about where you're getting access to open and approach it slowly and with this pulsation. Now, 4 corners plug in. Lengthen all the way up. Find your fullness, find your volume, find your aliveness here. And take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, dome up. Left foot and release. With your other foot, dome it up. I guess it was my right. Sorry about that. Dome up and release. So we're doing this doming of the foot like a little breath, like a robin's breast, filling and emptying. And then you want to dome and inchworm. Dome and inchworm. Dome and inchworm. Dome, heel slides to the toes. Look down, see that your foot is in front. Come back up. Dome and inchworm. Dome and inchworm. Dome and inchworm back. And come to stand. Now, from that doming foot, moving forward, what would happen if you domed and it just stretched out through the toes? So this long expansion, and it comes back in again, and it reaches out, and it condenses in, and it reaches out, and it condenses in. And you can reach out your arms and bring them back in. And you can reach out into your space and bring it out in. And reach and open and reach and open. And we started slow, and we want to stay in tune with what feels like the true pacing for us. But you can build the pulsation. You want to be able to build up your container. That's it. That's beautiful. And then bring everything down. And if I feel like I just really need a little bit more to get me going, I'll do what in continuum is known as the Jacques breath. So you're not saying the name Jacques. You're making zh sounds. You can play with your mouth. You can have a great time. You can be as silly as you want. So let's just try it, because this is what gets you bouncing. So we'll just start with a little bit of a bounce, maybe a little bit of a shake. Whew. And here we go. And see if it takes you anywhere in space. It could be fun. Who knows? So there you have it, my friends. The idea is that we learn best in play. We break through a lot of our old stuff when we get playful. Start slow. Listen to what your body wants. Let your body speak to you in the morning. Hello, this is what I need today. This is what I'm carrying. This is where I want to go. And it really can be very quiet if that's where it needs to go, or it can be livelier. But there you have it. So I hope you had fun with that. Getting serious again. Now that we've explored our quantum tissue, let's take a look now at how fascia can lock us down, what overwhelm can do to us. So we have over 250 million at last count sensory neurons in our fascia, meaning that your fascia is the most sensitive organ that we have. We've got motor neurons, which move our legs and give us proprioception and all that. And we have got sensory neurons, which come in and tell us how we feel. So we have like 10 times more sensory neurons than we have motor neurons. So we are big feeling beings. And we want to know that your fascia holds memory. I read a research paper, I think it really could be constantly updated, that listed about 10 ways, at least 10 ways that your fascia holds memory. I mean, there can be a memory like a little cobweb over here somewhere that has a whole history to it. And you open it up and you dive in. There can be wisps of memory. There can be memory in the extracellular matrix, the holding of our cells. What holds us? I mean, imagine what could be in that mother holding sea. What memory could be there? We have memory in the microtubules in the cell nucleus. We have memory, epigenetic memory, that doesn't even have anything to do with changing the DNA around. And we have memory in morphic fields. So we could just somehow be a match and some memory comes in and boom. Chronic stress damages our fascia. It over-tenses it in some places and makes it too loose to maintain structural integrity. So if you're in other places, so if you think of the fascial web as this beautiful mobile in balance, we don't want it to get wonky, because that's when things go awry, like your immune system gets weakened. You have more inflammation. You have more myofascial pain. And our perceptions are also so affected by this. The inner feeling is completely influencing our perception and how we navigate the world. So let's go to this slide, the sympathetic nerve endings of the autonomic nervous system. So sympathetic nerves, the interoceptive ones, that monitor our internal feelings. It's important for you to know that they do not follow the usual pathway to the brain. They go right to the heart, from the periphery to the heart to the brain, and to the insular cortex. So it goes up the brain stem and into the limbic brain and into the insular cortex, where our perceptions become emotions. And in the insular cortex, so the feelings become emotions and expectations, and then the stories that we tell ourselves to make meaning of all of this. So that's just a really interesting thing, because those motor neurons are doing wonderful things too. I mean, the fascia can feel and move on its own. That information does not have to go to your brain to move your body. That's how you jump out of the way of a train. That is how you're getting, but it's also going to the brain. It's going to the somatosensory cortex in the brain, which is telling you about how to position your body in space, telling you stuff, checking your environment, about all those interoceptive feelings, how you feel about it. That's not going there. That's going up to the story center in the brain. So a lifetime, imagine this. So you've done a lifetime of linear movement, repetitive movement, you've got scars on your body, you have this fast lifestyle, you're always on your devices, you grew up in a very talking, thinking kind of family. There's this whole cultural bias toward thinking over feeling. Just doing that alone is enough to numb you out, to render you with sensory motor amnesia in parts of your body, so that both the feelings going into your body and the ability to move well are negatively affected in this way, so that they've got this kind of sensory motor amnesia where they're just kind of offline. There's just a bad connection. And that can lead to more injury. That can lead to, let's say, if you can't use the serratus muscles and connect the movement of your arms with the movement of your sternum and the movements from your torso, you don't feel it energetically coming from your core out to your fingertips. Well, it's really easy to end up with a shoulder injury. So sensory motor amnesia is this real kind of disconnect that we see a lot today. And it just sets us up to repeat these old patterns that we're not conscious about, and then things get worse. So fortunately, this is something we can do about, right? So let's take a look at the next slide here, Bruce. Perception and sensory awareness. So here's the thing. We know how to bring attention and awareness to our bodies through mapping. We know how to build our capacity for authentic relating. We know how to increase our interoception and find a flowing river in us. Fascia is all about perception and sensation. So if you want to feel safe and seen and received, your fascia can help you with that. Okay? It's really impossible to tone your body and not tone your fascia. So the way that you really want to know about toning your fascia is with your movement, your breath, and your sound. So what I want to do is tell you a little bit about how I do that when I work with you. My program Emergence is the name of my somatic healing program. So it's to teach you how to move with ease and tune your body and open your perception and have more pleasure and see more opportunities. And we work with both nervous systems in doing this. Let's take a look at this slide. It's one of the things that I cover in somatic trust. I call this the the 3 things that you really need to cultivate in order to help this healing come about for you. So the first one is come home to your body. You're going to get to know how to find refuge in your body and rest in your heart's regenerative field. The second one is developing feeling awareness. This is where you get your pilot's license, folks. This is where you develop your interoception, where you become a somanon, where you recover the healing rhythm of your signature wave. And then the third stream is called creative self-shaping. And this is where we shape up the energy flow through your system. We change it up. And we have to understand that we're going to feel things, but we're going to feel things in a different way. We're going to feel things within a larger scale, a larger context that's going to make it seem like the edges get much softer. The intensity of the pain gets much less. Because pain is a funny thing, you know. Pain can be more about not what's in your actual tissues, but what's in your nervous system, what you've been conditioned to feel. So what I want to do now, Bruce, I'm going to make a little change. I want you to go right to the 6 steps of emergence, if you don't mind. There you go. So this is what happens when I want to give you a taste of what I do in a session with people, because they're all different and they're all tailored to you because we're all unique. But this is the general territory. So baseline, you get to know your tension and compression patterns. We look at how you move, where you're moving, where you're not moving. We assess the whole balance of your tensorial web, your energy field, what your chakras are doing, how energy is moving through the energy body. And I begin to give you some ways, some maps into this territory. So we drill down and look a little bit more in a detailed way at what a baseline is. You just had a kind of a general sense today. The next part is restore, and that's where we look at how we hydrate the tissue and restore regenerative movement, and how we can learn what these old patterns are that aren't so productive for your movement and position you so that you can move well through your whole body and integrate it through the whole body. And then begin to shape and carve your space with a sense of agency. You know, they're basic human movement patterns that we all have. They're coded in us embryologically, like standing, walking, running, and throwing. And I think walking is the great metaphor for, you know, how you walk through your life, not just how you walk, what your gait is. But one of the things that I love doing is to look at where you're holding and how we can stabilize and mobilize those intrinsic muscles so that you can move with greater ease and you don't feel like you're going to have to tense yourself up or brace yourself in order to deal with the forces. Because as I said, you know, chronic pain is usually not in your tissues. And so with interoception, we want to feel into that tone of the body and slowly add small, pleasurable movements. As Emily Conrad loved to say, sensation is not just a measure of pain. And so with all of this buzz that we are hearing today about AI, I want to introduce you also to your own body intelligence. And this extraordinary sensorium inside your body to bring it alive for you so that we can learn how to touch into a deeper sensory experience and anchor ourselves in the well-being of that. And then we throw in these perception opening experiences so you can begin to open up your awareness and see the world through new eyes. gain a new appreciation of our interbeingness, our interconnection with nature, with all organic life, and our role in that. You know, who are we? Where are we going? We have this music, we have this medicine we want to share. What is that dialogue looking like? And then unwinding to origin is how I like to call it. So this is a really fluid movement, sound, breath experience of the formless, formative part of ourselves. It includes the cosmic, it includes the personal, it includes the primordial self. It includes our intimate connection with all organic life. We begin to know ourselves in a much larger and vaster order of reality. And because we soften these internalized structures that have kept us separate from that. And then moving to education. So there is this whole science of movement called biotensegrity, which is about the architecture of life, replacing all the stuff that we all learned about biomechanics in movement. And if you want to nerd out on this, like I have for the last 9 or 10 years, I'm there to support you and, you know, mentor you through that. But if you want to feel better too, that's fine with me. The work that I do with people is about what you're interested in, where your curiosity is leading you. I want to take you to that. So I will share with you many resources in the program, a movement library, modules that are recorded with lots of different experiences in them. I want you to know that I sometimes may refer you, if you're stuck, to, oh, look at module 6. But it's really, it's your choice. There's not a homework to follow. There's not a curriculum. You meet with me one-on-one once a week. We record it. I do like you to do the recording on your own, or bits of the recording on your own. Not because I want you to do what I taught you, but because I want you to take it to the next step and create it and make it your own from there. Because this is a living, growing thing. The integration piece, this happens constantly. It doesn't just happen at the end. So, as I said, we look at your gait. We look at how to recover efficient pathways of energy flow and a fluid spine when you're standing and moving, so you can learn how to trust your body. So you love coming into your body. Your body, you feel the phase change and spiral. You find your intergyroscope. That is what we do in a nutshell. But I want you to know that if this speaks to you, I would like to invite you to have a call with me. Bruce is going to put up a slide. You can just go to this evolutionarysomatics.org/book121, and we'll have a conversation about where you are. If you think this can help you personally or professionally, what I really think is important to identify with everyone that I work with is what that story is. What is the new story? How do we create our own new myth? One that is a vision of where we can move forward into a new future from. And the problems and the pain and all of that stuff that we experience that has brought us here, that's the portal through which we open this doorway. And understanding what our patterns are that are keeping us from living this new story is part of what I like to discover in these calls. So I call these conversations embodied dialogues, because it's really about you dropping in to, all right, what's here for me now, and what wants to move in me. And whether we end up working together or not, maybe that part, that logjam starts to move again for you. So, you know, I'm over time, and I don't want to keep you any longer. But I want to say that I didn't get to the unwinding part because I had too much fun along the way, and I don't know, since I've had COVID, I haven't been able to be so time bound. Maybe that's a good thing. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a little videotape of an unwinding session, and I'll send out a link to you. Maybe not with the recording, maybe after that, but that'll be coming. That'll be fun. So I'm going to ask you all to unmute yourselves. I will stay. You're all welcome. Anybody who wants to stay and ask questions. Those of you who have to say goodbye, I want to thank all of you for coming today. And all I can say is I wish you were here in the room with me. But here we are. And it's been really nice. So thank you.
Thank you. So interesting.
And then anybody who has a question, Bruce, I don't know, are there any questions in the chat? If you have a question, just unmute yourself and chime in. And I see Bruce, does someone have a hand raised? Maybe that's sunlight.
You could just chime in.
Just unmute yourself, popcorn style, say hello, and you'll talk.
Hi. So
Hi.
Elizabeth, you guys live a little over an hour drive from me. I think with this sort of work, it could be valuable to actually do it in person if I would want to work with you in person. Yes.
I love working in person. I work over Zoom, but I also work in person as well.
Okay.
Where
And
you
I live north of Albany, Schaghticoke. It's kind of the level of Bennington.
Okay. Yeah.
And you're in Phoenicia, right?
I'm in Phoenicia. Yes. About a half hour outside of Woodstock.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm not sure right now is the right time, but I have been thinking about the fascia a lot and doing an incredible amount with my Ma roller. And my God, I've reversed my body like 25 years, you know. But also kind of crave somebody who is a expert who also has energy knowledge and, you know, all this kind of all my language too. So yeah, I just wanted to pop out there. And if it was in person, could you record the sessions? Or could we
This session
somehow...
is recorded, and we will be sending the recordings out to all of you.
I said if I worked with you in person at any point, would we be able to record it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
just turn on the camera and record it, and then you have a recording for you. You know, I think it's really great for people to have recordings of all the sessions. Some people don't care, but you know, I think it's just nice to have. So yeah.
And you have this. You have this.
What?
You have this program set up, which sounds like it's. I mean, I don't know if you've got kind of a scope in mind, but you can also just do kind of pop work or kind of popcorn kind of sessions. Like if I wanted to do once a month or something, and just work that way.
Set up a call with me, and we'll talk about everything.
Okay. All
okay.
Right. Thank you.
Because I may or may not do that, to be honest. I mean, it's not unheard of, but it depends. Depends on the person, depends on the situation. Right. Also, I'm not just working, I know this isn't necessarily for you, but I'm not just working in Phoenicia, I'm also working in Piermont, New York, which is near Nyack. It's closer to, it's about 30 minutes from the George Washington Bridge up Palisades. So I also have a studio there for those of you further further south. So yeah, you know what, set up a time. I would love to talk to you and we'll see what we can do. Okay?
Hello, Elizabeth. I wanted to say thank you so much for the session. I loved it and it was so interesting. I'm in London and it's nearly 9 p.m. here and I've been awake since about 6 a.m.
Oh.
I'm going to come off the call now so I can enjoy a nice kind of wind down after those lovely stretches. But I want to thank you so much and I'll book a one-to-one with you later.
Good. I can't see. Are you Claudia?
Yes, Claudia. Yes.
Hi, Claudia. I'm glad you could make it. Yes,
Yeah.
by all means, go get your rest, my dear, and I look forward to talking with you.
Okay. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Nice to
Bye.
see you.
Bye, Claudia. Sweet dreams.
Hi, Janine.
Hi, Elizabeth. Rocky says hi.
Hi, Rocky. Cutie pie.
Thank you so much. I feel very tingly and alive, which I haven't felt. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Take care.
You too. You too.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm in a quiet mode today, but that was very enjoyable. Thank you.
Hi, Gemma.
Hi. Hi.
You're welcome.
So much wonderful information and beautifully transmitted. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear.
Okay.
I'm saying goodbye and good night here too. Thank you so much once again.
You're so welcome. Thank you for coming.
I got in a little late, but I'm glad I did. Okay.
Okay,
talk-
well, recording is coming.
That's wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome.